Welcome back to another episode of War in Cali. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the East Coast Crips. The East Coast Crips are one of the most notorious gangs coming out of South Central and the east side of South Central to be exact. The East Coast Crips originated over 40 years ago and became one of the biggest Crip gangs, having several cliques and having a huge amount of turf. The East Coast Crips have expanded to other cities outside of LA that are close, like Riverside and Carson, not to mention them creating branches in other states and other cities. Crip sects repping the East Coast Crip identity are 1st Street, 59th Street, 6 Deuce, 66, 68, 69, 76, 89, 97, Q102, 118, 190 from Carson, and the 1200 block Crips from Riverside. With that being said, you can see they got a lot of Crip sets repping the East Coast Crip identity. With the East Coast Crips being such a big gang and spread out, they have several rivals. The East Coasters beef with the Grape Street Crips, the Avalon Gangster Crips, the Maswan Bloods, and of course the Hoovers, who they've been rivals with for decades. East Coast Crips still beef with a lot of gangs more than I mentioned, but in recent years, the East Coast Crips have been squashing a lot of their beefs with a lot of gangs and getting more of a ceasefire thing going on. I covered in a previous episode their beef with F13, who they have now ceased fire with. Also, they have squashed some of their beefs with the Kitchen Crips. The East Coast Crips are aligned to the neighborhood car, meaning they're on good terms with gangs repping that, which consists of several standout Crip gangs, like them, the 40s, the 60s, the 90s, and the 100s, just to name a few. Even though the East Coast Crips beef with some gangster Crip gangs, which the neighborhood car is known for doing, the East Coast Crips do something that most neighborhood Crips don't do, and that's have some gangster Crip allies. The East Coast Crips are allies of the 4 Deuce and the 4 Trey gangster Crips, and also the 8-7 and the 9-7 gangster Crips. Even though those gangster Crip sets rep gangster car, they beef with several other gangster Crips like the East Coast Crips do, making them eventually allies to take on their common enemies. I have covered the East Coast Crips twice before, with their wars with the Broadway gangster Crips and the F13, but in this episode, I'm going to talk about several cases surrounding them and several enemies, like the Hoovers, the Bloodstone Villians, and the Grape Street Crips, just to name a few. With that being said, let's get into some cases. T Tiger and several other fine non-East Coast Crips drove into Bloodstone Villain's turf and went into a liquor store in their area. T Tiger bumped heads in a store with a Bloodstone villain named Burnell. Burnell whipped out his strap and shot T Tiger in the chest, taking his life. Burnell was later arrested where he admitted to doing the shooting. He ended up being sentenced to 17 years to life. This will all lead to the next events that occurred over a year later. Around 11 a.m., Wayman and John pulled up on 57th Street and got out their car to talk to Don and his girlfriend Leslie. Moments later, a two-door white Cadillac pulled up and started spraying and sped off. No one was hit. Wayman seen the shooter and told everybody it was Kato from 59 East Coast Crip. With just getting shot at by the East Coast Crips, Don would get the bright idea that he was going to chase after them with no strap. He would end up on 57th Street and Compton Boulevard when Don was shot at a light, taking his life. A white Cadillac pulled up again and then shot Don in the head. They double back game was strong. The shooting took place in the Bloodstone Villain's turf, and all of Don, Wayman, and John, they was from Bloodstone Villain. John told the police that Don chased after the white car, and the reason why the East Coast Crips probably shot at them probably was because T Tiger from 59 East Coast was shot at a store on 56, taking his life. Police finally caught up with Kato after several searches and found several notes putting him from being from East Coast Crip, even finding pictures of T Tiger's funeral in his home, with several people indicating that he was the shooter. Kato knocked all them charges out like he was Rocky and he beat the case. Now this next case I'm going to talk about is a straight back door situation. Day was from Q102 East Coast Crip. He was getting his money and had multiple trap spots. He had 2 spots in an apartment complex on 48 and Crenshaw. Several people would see Day talking to 2 men, then bring them into one of his spots. Next thing you know, multiple shots was fired and 2 dudes running from the apartments. Police later interviewed a man named Robert. He told the police that he recognized one of the 2 men as being Low from 11A East Coast Crip. Robert even picked him out of a lineup. Inside Day's apartment, they found several scales, money, straps. He even had enough work to flood the streets. Police was then wondering what this was all about, because if this was a robbery, these doofuses hit jackpot but didn't even take nothing. They must have scared and shot Day and ran off like some little hoes coming up short on their payday. Day's apartment even had 4 cameras at every angle and caught everything, so Loaf and his accomplice Trayvon was picked up by the police and were placed in a cell together with a hidden device. These fools just start snitching on each other. Loaf would call Trayvon a rat, and they both would talk about how they did the shooting and how they needed a story to stick to. Another thing was that they exposed another East Coast Crip named Baby G. Baby G was from 11A East Coast Crip, and let's just say, Baby G had some bad business with Day Day, so he wanted Loaf and Trayvon to take him out, which they did. Loaf did the crime, and his ass got the time. He was sentenced to life. On the night of January 17th, 2006, Tony lost his life in an alley between 70th and 71st. A witness named Victor would see seconds later a man running from the alley. He knew Tony as being from 6'6 East Coast Crip. There will be several cameras located across the street, and it caught Will from 7 Shade Gangsta Crip running from the alley. He was later picked up, but he denied doing the shooting. But he would later admit that he did it because he wanted to rob Tony. But this fool switched up his stories like 5 times. Will said he tried to rob Tony, but Tony was found with a pocket full of money. Then he started making goofy stories saying he seen the blood from Mad Swan shoot Tony, and he ran out of the alley out of fear, and that's why he was seen on camera running from the alley. He would then say the blood ran the other way, but once again, that was a dumbass lie and that ain't work. So he said it was self-defense, and they fought over a strap, and Tony ended up shooting himself. Will was such a terrible liar, so his ass got a terrible sentence. He received 25 years to life. On June 30th, 2006, Jennifer and her boyfriend Darnell and their friends Maxine and Chris went to a club. They was all drunk and high. Darnell would get into an altercation with Darrell and a man named Randall outside of the club after they disrespected Jennifer. Darnell pressed them face to face and said, "This 20 Crip, cuz." Darrell responded by saying, "So what? This East Coast Crip." Both groups would end up being separated and went on their own ways. Darnell drove to a nearby gas station when Darrell pulled up in his gray Dodge Magnum with Randall. Darnell and Darrell would get into it again, and Darnell just drove off and got on I-5. Next thing you know, on the freeway, Darnell's car was getting sprayed. The car came to a stop in the middle of the freeway. Darnell then asked everybody if they was okay. Then next thing you know, he hopped off the car in the middle of the freeway. Then this story became like a damn Final Destination movie, because as soon as he hopped out the car, his ass was hit by multiple cars, taking his life. Jennifer, Chris, and Maxine told the police everything that happened. They eventually got camera of the altercation at the club and the gas station. Jennifer later picked Darrell out of a photo lineup. Even though Darnell died on his own, and Darrell was shooting like Big Worm's homies on Friday and ain't hit nothing or nobody, he still got sentenced to 25 to life. On October 2nd, 2006, around 5 p.m., Misha drove her rental car to her mom's house, where she would see an acquaintance named Akil with a crowd of people. Akil would then approach her and ask to borrow her car. Now Akil was tweaking. Some people asked to borrow sugar, maybe even ketchup, but not no whole damn car. But I guess she trusted bruh. But that ain't work out for the best thing for her. She got finessed and never even got the car back, so she had to report it stolen. Around an hour later after she let him borrow a car, a witness named Chris watched from the street on an intersection of Western and Vernon, where he said he seen a man that he knew named Ernest yelling 40s and then throwing up his hood. Next thing you know, Chris would say he seen someone hop out of the car and shoot Ernest multiple times, taking his life. Then they jumped right back in the car and drove away. Police would respond to the shooting and catch up to the car, which went on a high-speed chase. The car stopped, which Akil and the person that he was with named C jumped out and began to run. They was later found by canines, probably getting bit the hell up. Akil and C was from 7'6 East Coast Crip. East Coast Crips don't normally be for other neighborhood Crips, but a little static happens among different hoods in the same car. Akil and C would both receive life. The Grape Street Crips and the East Coast Crips haven't always been rivals. At one point, they were on cool terms. On January 27, 2008, members of both the Grape Streets and the East Coast Crips were at a party. Around 1 a.m., several Grape Streets were shot, including BL and Tank, who both lost their lives. Hours later, around noon, Easy from East Coast Crip, who was on 66th Street, got shot. An hour later, Gus and Rashad were standing on their porch on their house on 101st Street in Grape, near the Jordan Down Projects. A black Impala drove down the street and drove past them. Then the car spun around. A passenger started hanging out the window and started spraying at both men. They both got shot, but Gus lost his life with a headshot. Now the Jordan Down Projects has cameras on them that recorded everything. Just days later, January 29th, a man named Daniel was arrested and he had his car impounded. Another man named Cedric will be arrested as well. They both was from East Coast Crip. They were both placed in a cell together and they didn't stop running their mouth. They told everything that happened. Daniel would even talk about how his mom got rid of the straps that they used. Both Daniel and Cedric both received life. On October 7, 2008, Damon drove to Beach Avenue in Lancaster to pick up his girlfriend Shania. Shania was at her friend Geneva's house getting her hair done. Geneva's brother Darnell and his friend KK was there as well. They was both from Hoover. Shania called Damon because they made her feel uncomfortable. Damon was from East Coast Crip. As Shania was leaving because Damon pulled up, KK and Darnell followed her to the car, where they got into an altercation with Damon. Damon wasn't going for nothing, because he started letting shots fly. All you heard was, on East Coast Crip, but he missed every shot. Cameras footage on the apartments caught the shooting, and police used this in court. Damon was sentenced to 23 years. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.